their supervision. In 1877, when Francis was 10, he quit to become a professional artist. He wasn't very good and didn't earn much. The family had to downgrade to a much smaller house. Francis apprenticed in architecture at a practice owned by his mother's brothers. He was gifted, winning a national competition organized by the Royal Institute of British Architects when he was just 23. He was handsome and dashing as a young man, tall, slim, with red hair and mustache. He didn't want to wait patiently to be promoted gradually through the ranks at his uncle's firm. He decided to start his own practice, not in England, but in Vancouver, British Columbia's business center. The province at the time was promoting itself as a land of hope, promise, and opportunity. Francis arrived in May 1892 at age 24 and set up shop. Unfolding events in British Columbia were in his favor. Provincial officials wanted Victoria to be regarded as a world-class city. They believed the best way to convey this was to replace the existing humble and squat wooden Parliament building with a new, imposing one that would give the capital status and prestige. They launched a design contest open to candidates across Canada and the United States. Francis is said to have learned about it because a notice for the competition coincidentally happened to be on the same page as the placement of an advertisement of his in Vancouver's Daily World on July 5, 1892. He had many rivals. All told, there were 67 submissions. To prevent charges of bias, the judges instructed the contestants to submit their ideas under a descriptive pseudonym. Francis astutely appealed to local pride by calling himself a British Columbia architect, saying his design was to the glory of our Queen. He wasn't afraid to think big and had a flair for showmanship. Francis knew first impressions were important. For this reason, he said the Parliament should be at Victoria's Inner Harbor, the entrance to the city for most visitors. He proposed a complex of 3 multi-domed, majestic buildings, a big center one in which the legislative chamber would be, and 2 smaller ones on either side for government offices. The newcomer to Canada promised to use British Columbia sandstone and granite for the exterior, British Columbia copper for the domes, and marble in the interior. He had a passion for marble. When the 5 finalists were selected, Francis was the only one from Canada, giving him an advantage. Declared the winner on March 16, 1893, he had been in British Columbia only 10 months and was just 25. It was a remarkable achievement. The buildings will afford a striking example of what Canadian materials combined with Canadian skill can effect. Victoria's Daily Colonist wrote enthusiastically and proudly the next day in an editorial. It heaped praise on Francis. The competition for the government buildings afforded him an opportunity of showing the knowledge and skill which he had acquired, particularly in this class of building, and against great odds. Success has crowned his endeavors and made for him a name, not only here, but on the whole West Coast. Francis closed his Vancouver office and relocated to Victoria to oversee construction. It was problem-plagued, mainly due to him. He gained a reputation for unsavory business practices, obtaining materials and funds through means that bordered on dishonesty. He treated anyone who questioned him with contempt and had no respect for their experience. They regarded him as a rude, arrogant young pup. Frederick Adams, the building contractor, accused Francis of shortchanging him in payments and overspending on materials. They constantly quarreled. Adams desperately wanted to no longer deal with Francis. That led to his acting imprudently. On March 22, 1895, 2 years into the construction, he insisted that the Velos